I'm kind of like Crumbz in that sense, Malaclypse. Like, I kind of basically somewhat dismissed Nisqy from this discussion. For me, I test is like Jensen or Bjergsen, because my big issue is, this is just my own speculation, because again, I'm not in the team, I can't know what the comms are, but just from seeing how Nisqy worked with Svenskeren and then how he worked with Blaber in the spring when they had no competition and they were running over everyone. Listen, I know everyone else is going to say, because he's the guy getting the kill in the game, that Blaber's the better part of the... I personally think... even though this is going to sound harsh when I phrase it this way, I essentially think Nisqy made Blaber. Like, without hating, here's the comparison. If you take Closer and Blaber and swap them around, and Blaber goes to Golden Guardians, and what's his name? Closer goes to Cloud9. I think Closer already, by the way, is fucking amazing, but I think he would be the best jungler, hands down. And then I think, on the other hand, I think what you would see from Blaber is he'd have some games that were amazing, where it all went great and he got off early, and you'd have some games where he wouldn't have a Nisqy and he would just fall flat on his face and int. Like, I've always said, this guy's like a Chinese jungler who's just fucking found his way in LCS. Like, I'm not hating.
Demonte is kind of similar to Nisqy, actually.
He helps, he definitely works with him. But the difference is, though, I feel like Demonte is a little bit more like, put it this way, he's the bitch on that end of the relationship if there's no... I have no other way to phrase these things, you know. If I'm being like, the difference between those two is I feel like Nisqy sort of like enables Blaber, as it were, whereas I feel like Demonte just knows which way his bread's buttered, and like, if you got a jungler that good, probably should. Same with Lyra, by the way, who I thought was criminally underrated when he played with him. It looked like Lyra just told Demonte what to do, and he just followed him around, you know.
I don't know. I mean, I remember when we talked to Licorice, she was saying that Blaber is a big shot calling part, right?
Okay.
Yeah,
Blaber is commanding a lot of what Cloud9 is. So if he can say, this is what I want, maybe it's just that he's a better communicator as a jungler than another jungler. Because if I can sit down, if I'm a jungler and I can sit down and legitimately convince my mid laner, this is what I need from you, here's why it's going to benefit you, that's going to be, like, I'm going to feel like I can be Blaber. I can play that way.
Okay.
Blaber, that's mainly what I've heard. I don't know, because I'm not in the locker room, obviously.
Maybe I picked the wrong team on that one. Maybe I should have picked the team with a mid that just stays mid then or something. I should have picked FlyQuest or something, then maybe, you know.
Yeah, yes, that would actually, I don't think...
I don't feel like Power of Evil and Blaber would have a good time.
No, yeah, that wouldn't work. No, would never work.
Okay.
So Blaber with PoE and then Centauran with Nisqy. Yeah, that's those two. Both of those combinations sound awful.
No, Centauran with Nisqy would be fine. Blaber won't work well with PoE. I don't think PoE is just not that kind of mid laner for him.
My issue is this. Like, it's going to sound like haterism, but I'll say it anyway. My problem is this. So far, remember, Blaber is very young in his career. And it's not like he got to start on, like, he didn't start on the worst LCS team, but it wasn't like Closer where you just come to a bad team, but they let you just do what you want because he's such a stud and you're one of the few players that's good that they just go, yeah, take your picks, do whatever the fuck you want, mate. In theory, he came to the best team or one of the best teams and he had to, in theory, play top level instantly from day one. Well, in the spring, that was awesome. He only had to play that one style and he was fucking sick at it. My problem is, and this has always been why I've been more skeptical of him than other people, I didn't just crown him as like, oh, he's the god jungler, he's the best, blah, blah, blah. It's like, I want to see you play another style now, mate. Wait till the meta... Listen, Crumbz can tell you this. If you're a professional jungler, it is inevitable the meta will switch. It is inevitable that the way the game plays, whether it's fast or slow, will change. Like, you don't have a choice about that. Jungle is the role that just gets tossed around as the wind goes. So, as a result, like, if you're Blaber, I don't feel like he has, like, the control game. I don't think he's going to be very good at that. So I think he just keeps playing the way he's been playing, and that means if it goes bad, it goes bad. Sorry.
Being jungle is like playing Pokemon Stadium, right? You know, at some point the terrain's just switching and everything you've done is completely useless, and you got to just switch it up. So his support champions have not looked, his supportive junglers have not looked good at all, right? The Trundle, the set is passable, but definitely not the best set, not the best Trundle. And Volibear, not the best either. So those three that are really important, not really showing up on them. In fact, dying way too much. And if Sejuani starts picking up as well, then suddenly you got a player that's got 4 champions that are not the best, that are pretty useful when it comes to playing around bot side. Dude,
speaking of mindset, there's a perfect example, because that's one of the problems I think Blaber has, is like, even if you give him Volibear, he still plays it like Lee Sin, man, scores for all the fun. He just dives in and goes for mad plays. It's like, dude, that champion doesn't do that. What are you doing? Like,
if he could, he'd go Warrior.
Warrior Triforce.
Yeah.
In theory.
That'd be the Bork, what is it? Conqueror Bork Trundle. That'd be the dream.
There we go.
Take that matchup into Olaf. Just run him down.
Yeah. That's the play. That's the secret counter pick.
Are you the same on Blaber as Thorin was? Do you have your skepticism on him?
Yeah, because he's never shown the ability to, like you guys are kind of saying, he doesn't really show this ability to play the utility-driven jungle picks. He has to play carries, or playmakers. Like, I wouldn't really call Lee Sin a carry pick, or call like a playmaker pick, kind of.
Sure. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, sure.
Doesn't mean that he doesn't have it, because I don't think it's difficult to play these sorts of champions, and I think if he has the mindset to play carries, he'll be able to move and learn how to play these supportive picks. It's just going to take time. And while I've never worked with him, what I do understand about him is he's a very smart person, well, from what I've gathered, from what people tell me. So I have my faith that he'll learn to pick it up. It just won't be an instant thing.
I've got a good factor for you. I've just realised this now. You guys referenced it earlier when we were having the Nisqy-Blaber discussion. There's a problem right there, is if they get into a world where they're having to put supportive champions on Blaber, well, if he was some sort of a shot caller, but when he's on the playmakers and the carry champions, that's going to go away if he not only doesn't play the other style, but he's not going to have the same agency in the game, right? So that's a voice gone that before. I mean, Nisqy was seemingly fully happy to go in for whatever play he called, you know.
That is a big thing, actually. That might be the biggest determining factor with his champ pool, is how it affects how he calls, because a lot of the, like you mentioned, how you communicate often comes down to how you can interact with it, in a sense.
Well, that's just a really interesting point in general, because the problem was he's tethered, right? If you just view them as a two-man squad, if one is required to change, surely the other one must change as well. So it must take a larger effort for C9 than any other team to expand beyond what they currently play, from how tied they are together. So there's the same strength that they had turns into a weakness when the meta.
Yes. Which also, by the way, plays into mid lane in theory as well, because the other thing about Nisqy is, at least in NA, it's funny because you know him from when he was in Splyce, obviously, right? When he was in Europe, he was actually always flamed for just being like a Zoe abuser, you know? Everyone thought of him as that. But what's funny is, in NA, his big thing, because he's played around his team comps, is he has the champion ocean and he just roams all the time. Well, the problem is in this meta, I mean, anyone who's watched LEC knows this. This is the meta of Power V. This is where you sit in the fucking mid lane with that control mage, you farm up, and then you go and you win a dragon fight. Like, that's not Nisqy, though. That's not his style of play, traditionally.
It's never been his style. It's never been his style.
So I think it works both ways on that one. I'm not just flaming Blaber there. I think it also puts it on Nisqy. I think his strength worked in the other meta better.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's kind of meta-based, yeah. You can still play Zoe right now. It's just...
At least that's in the meta, yeah, sure.
It's got to be really good at it, and...
yeah, you just got to be really good. The draft has to be right for it. The draft has to be right for it.